Welcome back to the directors. We've been on a bit of a hiatus. Apologies. I had some health issues and Kevin was just swamped with work, I guess, last week, which totally understandable. So, but welcome back. We're here to talk season two of Twin Peaks. This is kind of, I guess, where some people dipped out of the show. There's a lot of plot lines going on in this show. Um, and you guys, you may need to keep me on course because I might get all the plot from these three episodes. I might bounce around.
It's definitely dense to say the least.
But I'm gonna say, other than one, I pretty much enjoyed all the little plots going on in these three episodes. Other than one in particular.
I have a few that are not my favorite that I kind of feel like I endure during this period, but there are other parts of it that it introduces stuff that I actually really like. So I find these episodes are interesting for me because it's a mix, right? There's stuff that I really like, and that's different because most of at this point I've enjoyed all of it. So it's interesting that there's and I don't hate. I might hate Little Nicky. We'll have to get into that. But
oh yeah, okay. There's two plot lines then. There's two plot lines which I had totally forgotten about.
As I told you guys, though, that image of Little Nicky as the devil lives rent free in my head. Man,
yes, yeah.
Well, see, I'm going to be the minority here. This is about the fourth or fifth time I've gone through the entire series. And while we were on our hiatus, like I was saying to you guys before, my partner and I have actually finished the whole thing, including Fire Walk with Me, The Missing Pieces, and all of The Return. And I'll be honest, this time going through, I enjoyed season 2 maybe more than I've ever enjoyed it before. And I think part of it is knowing what's coming. So I kind of am prepared for where everything is about to go once we've gotten past the murder of Laura Palmer. And to be honest, I just was so enjoying the time in the world that nothing really bothered me this time. And that's really weird to say that because, when it was first on, I think most people were just like, James, God, what are we doing? I don't know. For some reason, this time, the whole thing with him and Evelyn just really clicked with me. I really enjoyed the film noir, the femme fatale, the setup, the very, Lynch loves his old film noir. It kind of has that sort of double indemnity kind of vibe to it. And I actually kind of really got more into that than I ever have in any previous watch. So I don't know what it was. Maybe because I was watching with my partner and she's never seen any of it before. And so getting to kind of have her perspective, plus what I already knew. And it had been a while since I'd gone through all of season 2. I don't know. For some reason, nothing bothered me. I just thoroughly enjoyed my trip through season 2, more than I've probably ever enjoyed it. And that includes, when it was officially on in 90 and 91. So I'm going to be the minority here, man.
Well, to be fair, I always say that the Evelyn storyline is not my least favorite. Sure, I might have my complaints about it, but I actually never really minded it that much. I dislike the Little Nicky storyline more. I dislike why am I forgetting her name? Maybe because I dislike her so much. The mayor's girlfriend, starts out as her brother's wife and his brother's wife. Yeah, I dislike a lot of those. And partially what I dislike about them is that they don't go anywhere. They feel like placeholders. Is that they don't really develop the Andy the relationship that much or really hardly at all. And I feel like they kind of feel like wheel spinning, whereas the one with James, at least I feel like it helps to drive James further away. I don't mind that storyline as much. I know a lot of people really hate on Evelyn and that whole storyline, but I don't hate that part so much. Again, it's not my favorite part, but I still don't dislike it as much.
I think for me, the story itself and the plot's not bad. It's just you feel like I want to know what's going on in Twin Peaks.
That's fair because it is outside of Twin Peaks. I can agree with that.
What
But
are you doing here?
I think for me too, like you're completely right in what you're saying that a lot of these little storylines don't go anywhere. But I think for me, like this time, I was just able to enjoy them as just the expanding community of Twin Peaks. Like not every storyline has to go anywhere because that's how life kind of is. And for some reason, like I said, it all just gelled with me this time. I can't tell you why, but it did. And so like for me, like going through season 2 this time, it's probably the most I've ever liked it. And I've always enjoyed, I mean, it's my favorite show of all time. But season 2, for some reason, I used to think, oh, we're getting to that point now where it's going to be kind of a drag. And I just never felt it this time. And that was really nice. So again, I think it was my partner getting her fresh eyes on it, and actually just seeing her just going along with it to say, okay, where are we going next? What's going to happen? And I was like, you know what? Yeah, just let it kind of wash over you and just kind of go with it. And every storyline that doesn't really have a real point, I can still say this, though, it still feels like it belongs in the community of Twin Peaks. It all still feels very Twin Peaks to me. And maybe that's why I was able to go through it this time and it didn't really phase me that way. I just thought, oh, I'm just glad to be here. I'm just so happy to be in this world again and enjoying these characters. And I guess knowing what's going to happen in the return and how that whole concept of that season is basically you can't go home again. It was just, I was just going to just enjoy my time where I was well I could, is what it really kind of felt.
Yeah. I think that's completely fair. And like I said, I've never hated any of these ones. There's elements of that I know I get more excited on when certain aspects of these episodes, this period of time, and there's a few more after the ones we're going to talk about today. There's some parts of it that I get way more interested in and invested in than other parts. And, I do find and I actually like the principles behind the Nadine story, but I just feel like there's so many parts of it that feel like placeholders or space fillers that they could have told that whole arc in a shorter.
That's totally fair.
Starts to get silly, but again, Nadine's wonderful and I love watching her. And again, knowing where she ends up, like I love her whole story, and we'll get to all that in the return. But so there's still, I still love Nadine and I still love seeing her throughout this section. There is some parts that are a little uncomfortable and cringy when I think about the fact that Mike is a high school student. Like, but we've struggled with that on a number of. But still, having said that, again, don't hate any of it. Just some of it I get sort of more invested in, and
that's totally legit, man. I'm feeling you completely on that.
Yeah, the Major Briggs part I found really interesting. Cooper's whole like little dilemma here. I know it also feels like a bit of a placeholder as we're waiting for Windom Earle to really show up, but I like what they do with it. I think that Jean Renault is a formidable villain that is interesting to watch, and I can't wait to talk about Denise. So there's parts of this segment that I just love. So as much as these episodes do have parts that I don't love, they also have parts that I do love, so I still really love watching them.
That's fair. That's totally fair. Well, I will say the first episode of this little trilogy we're working on tonight, the Briggs disappearance and return, I love that the name of the episode is Dispute Between Brothers. That's absolutely hilarious. And I'm not gonna lie, the Lana storyline really doesn't go anywhere. But I'd be lying if I told you I still don't laugh my ass off at Dwayne and Dougie and their incredible relationship. And I swear, like, I laughed out loud at like every damn line with those two guys. Like it literally is so ridiculous. And there's just something about David Lynch in anything that he works on, his work with old men. It's just hilarious. I can't explain it. Like even in the missing pieces for Fire Walk with Me, the guy who goes to the Packard's mill about his 2x4.
Yes.
How it's not actually 2 inches by 4 inches.
Yes.
It's hilarious. And these two guys are in that same vein. All right. They really are. Dougie and Dwayne are wonderful. Like I wish we would have gotten more of them together, honestly.
Yeah, we needed more of them just arguing and
Yes.
cheating. One's the mayor, right? And the other one runs
Yes.
the newspaper.
Yeah. You're right, but he's out of the picture pretty quick.
Yeah.
And you're right. I think I might have enjoyed more of them.
Oh, I absolutely
and less
would have,
of whether Lana is some kind of witch or like I don't know, like and also maybe because I find that the actor playing her is just not. I feel like maybe she's miscast. Like I don't know if she carries the presence that someone who's trying to pull off what she supposedly pulls off would. I don't know, and I know that's maybe just a taste thing, but I don't know. I struggle with her. I do enjoy the brothers and their debates, and I do, and because I like them. I always like the mayor as a background character.
Yes.
Maybe being pushed up to the forefront didn't work as well. I don't know.
Well,
but again,
enjoy that he accused her of murdering his brother, even though it was probably a heart attack.
Well, and that's what's so funny is they kind of paint her like some sort of femme fatale in that aspect. And it's absolutely, I am certain, just old age excitement. And he just, no pun intended, he petered out. And that's just really all I believe happened. And that's what's so funny to me is that Dougie is like Dwayne is hell bent that it's absolutely her fault. She absolutely killed him. And then, of course, he falls in love with her, too, because of course he would. So really, I think it was just more jealousy than anything. But for me, I like Robin Lively in the part. I think she's fine. I'll freely admit I've always had kind of that little secret thing for redheads. So she really works for me on that level. I do think, she plays the part well because it's sort of that unassuming, like kind of innocent but not, because we know that she's a little bit of a gold digger, but I don't think she's a horrible person. I don't think she's killing these men on purpose. She's just, the lovin's that good. That's all I can say. The lovin's that good. And let's be honest, Dougie went out the way we all hope that we will. Let's just be honest with that. He went out like a champ. She gave the satisfying ending of his life. Right. I'm happy for Dougie. He went on with a smile on his face. I guarantee it.
Who knows? Maybe the same thing happened to Dwayne when it was his turn.
Right.
Who knows? He's still with her by the end. He's still with her by the end of season 2, right? So
he still is.
It very well be that's how he went out too. So who knows?
I'm going to put money on that, my friend. I'm going to absolutely put money on that. But this like there is just some really interesting stuff here. That, I mean, even though we're past that part where this is the part where people started to kind of drop off, unfortunately. And I get it for all the things we've already just talked about. I totally get it. But I do think there are some very worthy things that make season 2 stand out for me that come from these episodes on. Now, we're still getting, of course, the name dropping of Wyndham Earl. And I'm going to tell you right now, after rewatching season 2, Wyndham Earl is a fantastic foil to Cooper. I loved him even more this time than I think any time previous. I just really got into him. And Kenneth Marsh does a brilliant job with him. We'll get to him soon, but we're still getting those drops of the name. We're still getting those hints, the chess pieces, that creepy stuff that's really building up to something very, very sinister. And I really love these 3 episodes doing that continued lift of putting the name out there, of putting these clues out there, of putting this entity into the world. Like it's just really, really cool stuff. And so that when Wyndham Earl finally does show up, to me, he really delivers on the creepy, intelligent, like the anti-Cooper, really.
Yep.
Everything Cooper is, he's the exact same thing, but with no conscience. And that's terrifying because he is, as Cooper said, his mind is like a diamond. It's cold and hard and sharp. Wyndham Earl is fantastic. So we're still getting that. I do like what you're talking about with Cooper. I like that he is stripped of his FBI-ness, like he now has to become like a regular citizen. But you, of course, know that Sheriff Harry's not going to let that slide. So I love seeing Coop get to wear flannel and get to look at maybe picking himself out a house and then joining the Twin Peaks Sheriff Department. I love everything about that.
And then when he's looking at the house, he's like still investigating because that's where we find out they're having their meet. And he's doing the classic thing where cops are just like, that's cocaine.
Yep.
Well, and did you like he did it with the coin toss thing, and it really reminded me of Dougie in The Return, and just how like the information would come to him. Like it sort of twigged a little bit of that, anyways, for me. But
I've always believed like Cooper just has something like this, just like this luck that follows him where he goes, man. Like he's just always kind of has that, and he's just some people just have that. He definitely has. But I do love the idea of him now having to be kind of like a normal person for a while. You know, they got to investigate.
Yep.
You know, I do like the whole thing. You get some great character actors. You get Clarence Williams III for the Air Force. He is outstanding in anything he's in, and he's outstanding in this. And then, of course, for the Royal Canadian Police, you get the actor who I always loved him in Willow as Eric.
Right.
He's a fantastic actor. He's also wonderful in Death Wish 3, putting that out there. And his name's completely left me, but he's a fantastic actor. He passed away a few years ago, unfortunately, does a great job with everything he's doing. And of course, we don't know if there's maybe a darker side to him. We'll get into that in a little bit with a scene with Bobby. But it's really great seeing, again, the character actors that they bring in are always people that are on their A game. They always inhabit these characters immediately. You know who this character is, even though you've never seen them before, by the way that they're written, by the way that they're delivered. And I love this whole investigation on Cooper. I love everybody involved.
Yeah, it's a great subplot, and I think it does offer a lot to Cooper's development. I think it offers a lot to the show sort of development, and again, like even if it is sort of a placeholder as Windom Earle builds up, I like the way they build. Like, I know some people have talked about they should have brought Windom Earle in earlier, and maybe, but I like that he's this ominous presence that's just slowly sort of on the horizon, and that, you know, like I said,
and honestly, it's like he's already there. We just haven't seen him yet, and that's far more creepy to me. Like there's that whole thing that I honestly believe he's been there. Like he's been there the whole time. Like that they've started talking about him. We just haven't seen him yet.
Yeah.
We've possibly seen him and not known it because, as we'll see, he loves wearing disguises. But I think that to me is really the haunting part of Windom Earle. He is a genuinely chilling character. You know, Orson Welles said it best when he was doing a play. He's like, you know, I played like I think it was like Mr. Wong or something like that. And he's like, so the whole first act, everybody's talking about, have you heard about Mr. Wong? Like they're all talking about him. Orson Welles hasn't even popped up on stage, not even been in one scene. And at the very end of Act 1, he's standing on a bridge on the set at the very far end of the bridge. Yeah. And that's where the act ends. And he said, but if you listen to everybody during intermission, they're all talking, that actor who's playing Mr. Wong, he's fantastic, blah, 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 blah. He hasn't done a damn thing. But everybody selling him has been building him up. And that is very much what they're doing with Windom Earle here. They're building him up and just making it like he's there already. The actor hasn't even shown up yet, but we're already feeling the sort of icy grip that's coming with him. There is a genuine like Silence of the Lambs, like serial killer kind of creepy level to this dude, and we're already feeling that. I mean, to me, that's good stuff. When they yes, they could have brought Windom in earlier, and it would have been great because the actor's great, but it would have had the impact if they would have done that, and I don't think it would have.
Right? Yeah, I agree.
I think you're right, Kevin. I think this just the mystery of him like makes him more sinister. And isn't it in these 3 episodes he talks about the woman he loved and him getting shot and then his partner going crazy, like lost mind.
Yep. Yeah, it's heavy stuff, man. And the fact that Cooper was partners with him at one point is really scary and terrifying. And the fact that Windom Earle was involved with Project Blue Book makes him even more terrifying, because here's a guy who knows shit that no one's supposed to know, and now he's like he has no connection, no agency. He's just a free agent, and he's just going to do what he wants to do, and that's really terrifying because we know that what we're learning about in these episodes, the chess pieces and stuff, all of that stuff coming into play is just It's so creepy and so good. Like I'm telling you, like Wyndham Earl is one of my favorite things about season 2, and watching it again recently, he is absolutely that still stays. As a matter of fact, it's just gotten even more of just like one of my favorite things about this entire season.
Yeah, we're not technically there yet, though. We're still on this investigation part. But I do like this part, that part of the thing. I like the way that Cooper has earned this like trust amongst his team there that are willing to help him out and willing to go to bat for him. It develops, like you said, how it strips him of so much of who his identity is. He has to earn that back, similar to kind of what happens in The Return to a
very much so
in a different way. I love that aspect of it. I think that there's a lot of great development of Cooper and his relationship to the town that goes on throughout that sort of plot line. So I think it's a really good device and one of the stronger plot lines through these couple of episodes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Talking about character actors, besides Clarence Williams III, which I had forgotten he was popped up, Molly Shannon shows up as a caseworker in this.
Yes, I'd forgotten that too.
I had too. I had absolutely forgotten about that. Yep.
Like, is that Molly Shannon?
Like, yes, it is.
4 or 5 years before she'd show up on SNL.
Yeah, it's unfortunate she doesn't get more to do too. When you see her, like, oh, this will be great, and then she's unfortunately gone pretty quick. But I mean, she's great to watch, anyways. Even just a little bit, we get her.
Yeah, she's talented, period. And it shows here. You saw it there already. I was just looking through like all of our note stuff on this. Like I'd forgotten to like a pretty fun subplot. Now some people get iffy about it, and I understand why, especially today. But this is just the beginning of it with Bobby thinking he's the big man trying to blackmail Ben Horne with the recording that he has with him and Leo.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, Ben Horne is like the top dog, dude. He is not Leo. He is not that. He is absolutely the top. If you're going to go after him, you've got, and I love that Ben Horne just laughs him.
Yeah. Laughs him off.
And then gives him a job.
You're going to work for me.
Yeah.
You're going to get here for me on what these guys are up to while I'm just playing my Civil War cosplay.
Well, this part doesn't get into that part of it yet. And this part's still really good. Like it does sort of peter out. I mean, we can talk about that next time when we get into that. But there's like some of that makes sense in terms of Ben's mental break and what goes on there. And that's all good. But I love this part, this lead up to it. I also love how Audrey interacts too.
I love how he's replaced his cigars with carrot sticks.
Yes, yes. I love how Audrey, is manipulating things, not even behind the scenes, but she's putting her fingers in. Like this whole like lead up to Ben going full on out of touch with reality is a great part.
It is.
He's dealing with Catherine. He's dealing with being beaten basically by Josie and Catherine in different ways.
He's not used to being on the losing side.
No. And he's got plans he's working on getting himself back up again. You see that too. And that's interesting. And so I do like this aspect of these ones. Like I said, we can get into the Civil War stuff later, but
more delicious soap opera plot.
It is. It's definitely Yeah, it definitely. And Catherine, of course. I mean,
I love that part.
Always the best. Yeah, always the best. Yeah. I thoroughly, for me, Catherine Martell is one of the best characters in Twin Peaks. Period. She's great, and I love the fact that she does pull the win off of Ben Horne. Like she absolutely pulls that off when he's not expecting it, and then she finds him at his lowest. Which is great.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, Catherine really gets to kind of go out on a very high note as the season goes on because she's holding all the cards on everybody. On Josie, on Ben, like she's got it all.
And they've been building to this since the pilot, like this whole Eckert and Andrew Packard plot line. Like it's been hinted at since the beginning, and it's finally starting to come to fruition. And you're right, Cody, like the soap opera-ness of it is just delicious. Josie comes back, and obviously there's danger, and she's in trouble, and she's manipulating Carrie, and like that whole plot line is really fun, and it's starting to ramp up here. And something again, like I said, they've been building since the pilot, and it's really nice that there's that to pay off. It's not an out of nowhere plot that they've been sort of tacked on. It's been something that's been developing to this point, and it's really fun to watch that play out.
It is. Now, the good news is the other thing you got going on here is on the opposite side of that, into the more spiritual realm, is this is where we have the wonderful camping scene with Cooper and Major Briggs.
Yeah.
We start hearing about the White Lodge. We've always heard about the Black Lodge, but now we get to hear about the White Lodge. And I really love that, again, I love the spiritualness of Garland Briggs. Like, yes. You would not think a military guy would be that. And he absolutely is one of the most spiritual, most passionate, most kind-hearted, like everything that you think of a military guy would be, he's absolutely not. Other than he has his secrets and he has things he can't tell you because those are classified. But who he is as a human being is not at all what you normally see portrayed in a military-style guy. He's just the most kind and caring and loving and nurturing. He's wonderful. And getting to see him and Cooper together, talk about two like similar souls, man. They are meant to be friends, and they are meant to be out camping together. And I love the simpleness of that scene before the major disappearance of Major Briggs, but just the simpleness of just him and Cooper being out in the woods, just two guys who are really on a very similar wavelength, man, more than anybody else, except for like maybe Hawk or the Log Lady. They're just on a different wavelength. And I love just the scene before the major gets zapped off. I really do love the scene with the two of them talking about the White Lodge and everything that's good about it and all that. I love how they're, again, still building the mythos of the veiled, universe that lies beyond, the trees of Twin Peaks. You still get more of that. You're still developing that world, which again, I just, that's the stuff that really, when I go back and watch it, that's always the stuff that really stands out to me, is again, just to be able to create this alternate reality, that's just like right beyond, if you just go past that tree, you're in it, kind of thing. Like there's something about that that's so scary and mystical and powerful and awe-inspiring, all of that encapsulated. And it's just really good stuff, man. Like that scene is so.
Oh yeah, I think when I first was watching through this in the original broadcast when I was just a kid, like that was the stuff that was the most interesting to me. The mythical stuff, the otherworldly stuff. His return is even better. I think I love the scene when Bobby and his mom. I love that scene, and then he shows up and their reaction and how he says everything's not okay. Like it's just a great scene, and I think I've come to appreciate that scene even more with rewatches and maturity as I've aged and watched it again. But I do love that's definitely one of the plot lines. And again, more of that world building is coming in the next episodes with him talking more about what his experience has been. But his disappearance, him being gone, and his return are all just like, I love those scenes when they come on.
Yeah. There's that creepy person in the woods too, that in shadow, and I don't think that's ever revealed, is it? Like I didn't think so. I don't think that's ever actually said.
I don't think so either.
I've always wondered who that is. Like you never get there's just that shadow of a person back there, but I'm like, that's never ever really hit upon. So I honestly don't know, but it's just creepy and awesome. It's very, very X-Files-ish before we had the X-Files, basically. So, and on that note, we go into the next episode, Master, where we bring in, one of the key players of the X-Files, where we get David Duchovny. And, to save Agent Cooper's bacon comes Dennis Denise. This is good stuff, man. This is great.
And this is interesting. I've been doing a lot of reading on this because, I'm obviously not a trans woman, but I know that like most of the consensus, and I know there's nobody's a monolith. There's different opinions on different things, but most of the consensus is that the portrayal here is remarkably sensitive for the time period, and it actually is, even for today, it would be considered on the better depictions. Now, it's problematic that it's the David Duchovny's playing the role, but there seems to be a lot of sympathy for what he brings to the role, the way the characters treat Denise the way she is empowered through the writing and the performance. Like, there's so many scenes. There's a few jokes that are a little way you go, oh, but very few. Most of the time, the portrayal of her, I would argue, and again, I defer to people who know better, but the reading that I've done does seem to be most of the consensus is that they handled this really well, not just for the time, but even for now. They've handled this character really well. She's a strong character. She ends up being one of my favorite characters.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
And when you look at even going into The Return, fix your hearts or die. You get to see Denise again in that position of power. And I think when you look at this, what I love about Duchovny's performance is, unlike God, let's take the Wayback Machine to 1991. Yeah. Unlike how every other TV show in history at that time would have portrayed Denise.
Yeah.
Where the joke is, oh, look, it's a man in a dress. Isn't that funny?
Yeah.
It is never played for laughs.
No.
Not one single bit. And I love the fact that David Duchovny brings such a genuine warmth and a genuine vulnerability, and a genuine, like, you can tell he genuinely cared about making Denise a character and not a character, a real person and not a fucking punchline.
Yeah,
and that's right. So critical to why Denise works.
Yeah,
and I love how Cooper responds to Denise, because he had always known Denise as Dennis, but is like totally fine with it. We're all good because you're awesome, you're cool, and I know you're here to save my ass, and I know if anybody can, you can. And I love Cooper's reaction to that. And I even love how even the backwoods boys of Twin Peaks Sheriff's Department, they all fall in line as well, man. They're all really cool. And I really appreciate the fact that even though they're a little kind of like, whoa, okay, like this person's very comfortable with who they are, but they all fall in line, and they all let Denise take lead when the shit hits the fan. They absolutely follow Denise's lead, and I love the fact that they do that. Denise is absolutely a strong and important character in the time that she is on screen.
Yeah, I almost wish we got more of her. I mean, she's in for just such a short period of time, but Audrey's response to her is really great. I think there's, like I said, there are a couple of scenes where the show takes a couple of pot shots at her, but very rarely, and that is overwhelmed by how respectfully the show treats the character all the rest of the time.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
I just was watching again. I'm always amazed at how well they pull that off. For, again, like at the time, you wouldn't have seen that on TV. She would have been the butt of the joke.
Anyone else, it's a joke. Anyone else, any other show, it's a joke. And I really love the fact that in a show that's absolutely known for its quirkiness and weirdness and odd sense of humor, Denise is not a joke.
No.
Denise
is
is
a hero.
Real character and a hero. Exactly. Like you said, I love Audrey's reaction to her. That they're just like BFFs, like almost like that. I love that. To me, it's I love that Gordon Cole is fine with Denise. I love that Cooper, even though Cooper is expecting Dennis to walk through that door, but gets Denise. Okay, cool.
He's like, okay,
let's roll. All right, cool. This is what we're doing. This is cool. You're who you are. I love you, man. Let's get this done. And I love that so much. That really is. I mean, when you think about it, for a network television series in 1991, I'll be honest, I can't complain one bit about how Denise is handled, because you unfortunately know there's always going to be like someone. I mean, I hate to say it, that's just reality. Even in today, there's always going to be someone who will not accept that person, who will not use their proper pronouns because pronouns freak them out. Heaven forbid us snowflakes who can't handle a pronoun. Jesus Christ. We have that. It's unfortunate that we have that. And it's honestly amazing to me that back then in 1991, when you would have expected that to have far more cringy jokes going at it, there are few and far between, man. Like few and far between. And I really appreciated that.
I want to hit 2 points on all of this that we're talking about with the character of Denise. So we're talking about how amazing it is that it's respectfully done and it's not a joke, even for today's standards, let alone 1991. This is the same year Silence of the Lambs that came out.
Yeah.
It was very upsetting to the trans community.
Yes.
I think you hit on, even though you were talking about it in a different way, Kevin, is you talk about how this show can be quirky and it's got weird characters and there's a lot of sense of humor. But I think that's also why all these characters are accepting of Denise, is because Twin Peaks is such this community of completely individuals. Like
Yes.
everyone is unique, they're their own person. But they all accept, like they accept the log lady for who she is, even though they think, okay, log lady's a little weird, but we accept
Yep.
her. She's part of the community. And
Yeah.
like, maybe the plot line doesn't work so well for everybody, but everyone's kind of rolling with the whole Nadine thing, and the coach is like, well, I'm gonna put her on the wrestling team because
Yep.
she's out pushing everybody.
Because she's the best we've got. I mean,
Yeah.
she's literally the best they have. Let's not even front.
Yeah.
But no,
It's
I'm with
true.
you. I was very excited. My partner, she identifies as bisexual and is definitely a member of the LGBTQ community, and has many friends who are trans, and she's very hyper protective of that. And she loved Denise, and she loved the portrayal, and she was even like, "Man, they really did a good job with that." Like she was, and she would have been the first one to tell me, "I'm not watching this anymore
Yeah,
because that's
right.
bullshit." She'd have been
Right.
like, put a hard stop on it. But even she was like, "No, man, that's really like that was really beautifully done." And it for again remembering it that it was 1991. She was also genuinely impressed with how carefully that's done, and she loved, of course, getting to see her cameo in The Return.
Yeah.
Yeah. Denise is a great character. David Duchovny, man, hats off, because
Yes, he
that's
did a great
work.
job.
That's a bold job for him to take, because he's not fully established X-Files
Nope.
David Duchovny. He's
Nope.
still
This
a
was years before that.
that could have
You
been
gotta go after.
He's a working actor just trying to get jobs, and that's the kind of job that a lot of actors might turn down because they'll be like, oh, this is going to make it hard for me to get any. But he just took it, and he like you said, imbued respect for the character and played her as a real human being and never played her as a joke.
Never once. And that's why Denise is awesome. Like, honestly, I love the FBI agents of the Twin Peaks universe, and Denise is absolutely one of the very best. There's no other way to put it. She is an absolute real one.
I wonder if this performance is what gets him the X-Files, though.
It could be, because you can definitely tell Chris Carter was a fan of Twin Peaks, man. You can tell.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I would have to think it couldn't have hurt
without Twin Peaks.
Oh, hell no. Hell no.
Yeah.
No, I would think it would not shock me to know that he was such a fan of the show that when he saw David Duchovny walk in, he's like, all right, okay, yeah, I know you. Let's talk. And I know you've got range, and I know you've got heart. So let's talk. I got this part. But no, this is a great episode because we get Denise. But this is where we also start the Evelyn Marsh saga for James.
I was just going to say, let's talk about this because it's one of the most controversial storylines in the show. And as we said, like, I don't actually hate it.
I don't either.
I think there's a lot of interesting stuff going on. Cody, you said you love the melodrama of it, the film noirish aspect of it.
Yeah.
I think it does advance James's storyline. It's not a throwaway piece.
No.
I actually don't mind this section of it. It's not wrapped up by the time, in this 3-episode arc, but it's
no.
It's just starting, it's building. But I actually find, there's a certain kind of over the top, like you said, noirish. It's like they're consciously going, over the top with it, but it's a tribute to this kind of film and this kind of
like I said, it has big Double Indemnity vibes, and I know Lynch is a fan of that film, so it's straight up that. And I think that's why I get so into it, because where the show kind of has that 1950s kind of vibe about it, that storyline just makes sense to me, like in the scope of that universe. And I really like, that James is given something to do besides mope about Laura. Like, it gives him something to do, and it throws a wrench into the works of him and Donna, because now you've got Evelyn, and I like that James is in this weird bar that's not in Twin Peaks. It's got its own quirkiness about it. The Canadian the policemen all lined up at the bar. That one's just like they're all looking at the TV together. Everything's in sync. Like that shit's great.
Yeah.
Man. I absolutely love it. But like you get this almost like an alternate Twin Peaks. It's really weird. But I like the fact that it still feels in that universe. It's not in Twin Peaks, but it feels like it's near Twin Peaks. Yeah. But I like that Evelyn, is the older woman. She's very, your typical femme fatale. She's very passionate. She's very proactive on James. Like she sees that here is this wounded guy. I can probably take his heart, just twist that shit around, take his dick, twist that shit around, and I'll get him to do whatever the hell I want him to do. And she's right. That's the great thing about it. She's right.
Well, that's right. And James walks into it. Yeah, maybe some people dislike it because it's like, well, it's so obvious. But at the same time, James, it makes sense to me that James would fall for that. With all.
Well, think about Laura. I mean, Laura was a very dangerous girl, and James knew that. Yeah. And I feel like that's sort of the draw here. This is like. If Laura were older, but still has that mystery about her, she's got that assertiveness about her. She's very attractive, and she knows it, But I like that she'll play up on his sympathies, like, "Oh, my car is not working. You look like the kind of guy who could fix it with that motorcycle you rode in on," and all that kind of stuff. Right. And it works because, well, A, James does know how to fix a car because he's Big Ed's nephew, and B, he's just kind of looking for something to do. And he gets he gets two things he gets to do: fix her car and her. So it's all I totally get it. He's out of he's a high school senior. He's he's feeling a little randy. I get it. Like I get it.
And he needs a distraction. He's not making good choices. Like it all makes sense to me.
Exactly. Yeah. He's on a downward spiral, honestly. Yeah. But it's this whole thing that will kind of get him out of that spiral and send him on his way. And I really, I think for me, it's odd. I never thought of it this way, but watching it this time, I felt like James got some sort of closure in the sense that his story ended with him taking off and going to be his own person, not in the town of Twin Peaks.
Right.
And I'm okay with that. And of course, as we see in The Return, he returns. But in that moment, after this little arc happens, James gets to be his own thing. So I like this storyline, and I like the way it definitely starts very innocent, very, very small at the bar, and it just continues to escalate, like just horribly. It's to me, like I said, it's double indemnity in Twin Peaks is what it really is.
I was really disappointed that there was a part of me holding out that we might see Evelyn pop up in The Return at some point, just in a background or something. And I always wish that she did, but oh well. I mean, who knows what her final fate was? But
who knows? Yeah, it probably wasn't good. Let's be honest.
No, I'm gonna say it probably didn't end well for her.
That would be my thought. Now, of course, we also with this we get we get little Nikki.
Oh, well.
And I to me, okay, here's my thing. There's something so hilarious to me about Lucy in her pregnant state, basically holding a competition between Andy and Dick. Doesn't matter who genetically is the father. She's going to have a competition to see who she's going to pick to be the father of her child.
I think one of my problems with that is that there's no way Dick could win that competition. Like, why is she even wondering? Like, I just struggle so hard with.
Like, I already know what kind of man he is.
Yes, exactly.
He's a reliable, we'll count on, gonna help.
But I think that there's a part of me that finds it so humorous because you could not find more disparate people.
Right.
Andy and Dick.
Right.
Like, there is no similarity with them whatsoever. It makes you wonder why Lucy even
That's the only thing they have in common is that they're both men.
That's it.
and
Literally.
the,
That's
the
it.
characters even use his name as a descriptor. Like they know who he is. Like
Yes.
they refer to him that way. They're saying his name, but you know that they're saying it in the way that they mean it.
Oh
as
yeah,
a
they mean that
descriptor.
he's a total dick, and he
That
is.
there's just I don't know that this is probably the storyline that bugs me the most. I find like the kid is unappealing. The whole thing is kind of a cruel exercise in this poor orphan.
Okay, Bradley, that's the
is-
best description I think we could give of Little Nicky. He's so unappealing. He makes me not want to be a dad, right?
and I've liked the Dick character up to this point. Like before, I thought he was so much fun to watch him be.
He's ridiculous, yeah.
Disgusting and ridiculous. Yeah.
This guy's a soap opera actor. Like that's what he mostly does.
Yeah, that's.
But
true.
then again, there's that part of me that thinks it's hilarious, like him out with Little Nicky, like the whole like changing the tire and all that stuff. Like, I don't know, for some reason that stuff just cracks me up because, hey, watching Dick try to change a tire is hilarious.
I know.
Like,
He's
like
got the
who's never done that before that one time. But there's just something about that child, like possibly like maybe accidentally killing him by steering the wheel. I don't. It's just funny to me. Like it's almost like I don't know. It's so bizarre and it's so like, where the hell is this going? Who thought of the storyline? That I just kind of roll with it.
I have
when
a
you read-
theory. I'm probably completely wrong. I doubt this is what happened, but I'm wondering if they got a studio note of like, we need to get a kid involved with this whole plot line. After the success of Home Alone,
we need to get more kids watching Twin Peaks. We got to get a kid in there.
From what I've read about the behind the scenes stuff is they had this whole plan for a Cooper Audrey romance that they had they quashed for, again, it's controversial as to why they quashed it. They needed to come up with more stuff, and it was kind of last minute that they were squeezing some of these plot lines out of there. I honestly believe this is one of those ones that they just kind of pushed out there because they needed something. They were trying to keep the cast busy, right? They needed like Andy and he's such a great character, right? And Lucy is such a great character. They wanted them involved somehow, but they maybe didn't have anything else for them to do. So I don't know. It just feels like one of those ones where they're keeping people busy. There's a few of these plot lines that feel like they're keeping people busy, and this is one of them. And it's a struggle on shows that are stretching too much, right? That they find ways to just keep a character active in something. There's times when, I love Shelley, but there's times in season 2 where it feels like they're just throwing her in because they need her to have something to do. Not always, but it does. This feels like that for me, and that's one of the reasons why I dislike this storyline a lot. And I don't hate it. I still watch these episodes, and there's so much about them that I love that I forgive these bits. And there are funny bits. Like I do laugh at some, like the image of the devil. I do laugh at that. You're right. I get it. But
Dude, also too, when they're at the Double R Diner and Nikki spins the stool and Andy sits on it and goes flying off.
Yeah.
It's just,
but Dick is so
Harry
so
Gill
out of
has a
his element.
commitment to that stunt. That's all I'm saying. It's
But
just genuinely
Dick is
funny.
so out of his element. He's talking to Nikki as if he's a 3-year-old or a 2-year-old.
Right.
The way he talks to him,
Yeah,
Uncle Andy goes boom boom, and I'm always like, the kid is not that young. Like,
But to me, I just feel like that is exactly how Dick would talk to every person younger than him, basically.
That's
like
true.
every teenager and below.
Yes.
I feel like he would talk to them all the same way because that man
That's true.
has no concept how to talk to anyone who is not.
Which is why Lucy's smart. As much as she's Lucy, she's still smart. She knows Dick is not going to be a good father, and she shouldn't even be going through this.
Let me ask you this: could she be doing this just to fuck with him?
Maybe
that legit could be a thing, man. Like that could be a thing.
Maybe she's punishing Andy a little bit. So
that's what I'm saying, man. Lucy might have a different alternative on this. And if you watch those scenes that way,
it's a good theory.
I'm telling you, it works. It works really well.
That's
Lucy
a really
is
good
legit
theory.
playing them. She's legit playing them, man. I'm telling you. I think that's what it is. Look at the way she talks to Andy and Nick and Dick when they're together. I mean, I genuinely believe she's got access to grind, man, and she's doing the best grind.
We're on to something.
The more than the whole police department's enamored by that other woman.
Yes. Yes. And Lucy's annoyed by that too. You can see,
Yes.
like, I'm
Yeah.
like, when she's got her annoying part, I'm like, I'm with you, Lucy. Like, this part's annoying me too. Like, I
mean, I
so
was-
maybe
I was enjoying when it was just Hawk and Hawk was like trying to play it cool and everything, and then
Sure.
but when all of them
Yeah.
are enamored, I'm like, okay, come on now.
yeah, there's
But I
a
love
bit
the fact
like
that with Hawk is
Truman
absolutely
and-
going to take her out.
yeah. But there's a bit where Truman's in there and they're all like, where it's like, I'm not sure I
Even
buy
Doc
like
Haywood's there. What's Doc Haywood doing
I
there?
know, like that's yes, 100%. There's no way Doc Hayward would be enraptured in that way, and there's no way Truman would be like. There's a bunch of those moments where I'm just like, oh. So those are the ones that bug me.
I didn't read it as like a sexual enamored. I read it as just that she's so charming and so cute that they're all just like, oh, like she just can't. How can she exist in this world? She's just too cute. She's just too perfect. And I believe that's how Doc Hayward would absolutely look at her. I don't think he'd be.
Yeah,
like,
no,
oh,
I don't think he's. I think you're right, but I just thought, okay, come on, why are all these men here? Come on.
I think it's just one of those cute little quirky little jokes to make. I mean, is it like, the funniest thing ever? No, but at the same time, even watching it again this time, I'm just like, that is kind of cute. Like, it's just so goofy.
Sure. Again, I don't
it's
hate any of these enough to like, but I just like if I have to be critical, these are the part times.
No.
I don't have to be.
Not
I don't
wrong.
have to be. Another one, Ernie should have left. Like, I'm done with it.
Oh yeah.
Like, it's a little bit funny, some of his sweating and his nervousness as he gets pulled into the, but it just feels like, I don't know. I find his character also grating and because I actually like the part where Norma confronts her mom and tells her off, and I'm like, good for Norma.
I do too.
And I find that moment quite full of pathos.
Yes.
I do like that scene. I think that's good. But then that should have been the end of her mom and Ernie, and he should have gone off. They didn't need him to be there for comic relief during the wrap up of the whole Jean Reno story. I don't feel like he does. Again, it's nitpicking. It's not the worst. It's one of those things that grates on me a little bit when I get to
Again, I totally get it. It's not like I would say that that's the most memorable thing of season 2. But again, I just was kind of, I find it interesting that Norma and her mom both have despicable, like, ex-con husbands. Like, they both kind of make the same bad choices. And I found that kind of interesting that you see where Norma kind of comes by it honest, it's an interesting thing that, and then of course that those two assholes know each other from the Clink, and that they end up getting together makes perfect sense.
Well, and it showed, like, seeing Norma's mom be as awful as she is really maybe informs why Annie has the difficulties and the challenges that she has later. And again, that's something for us to talk about later. But she's obviously a troubled girl, and now we see maybe why. Like, if that was your mother, I mean, maybe you'd have issues too. Norma took a different path where she was like, I'm going to be strong for myself, and I'm going to run my own business, and I'm going to be this like strong but suffering. But Annie, didn't have that strength to be able to do that, and so it explains some. So I do like I said, I do actually really like that little part of this plot line. The part with Norma and her mom.
Absolutely.
Big difference between their choice and husbands is, Ernie's crooked and he's a criminal, but he's not dangerous like Hank.
No, he's not violent.
No, he's not violent like that. No, but he's not a
murderer. No, he's not. But he's not a murderer either. Like Hank is.
He's not even comfortable with this whole thing that he's involved in.
No.
Oh Lord, no. And then
he doesn't want to be pulled in.
If
he had his way, he would have left with his wife and wouldn't have got involved in any of this stuff, but he was just blackmailed into doing it. Like,
Yep, that's fair. The other stuff in this episode, we get, of course, this is where Hawk talks about the White Lodge and the Black Lodge, kind of neat foreshadowing the concept of, your shadow self. You have to have absolute pure bravery to be able to make it through the Black Lodge. This is such an important line, as we'll find out at the end of this season. It's a critically important line.
Yes.
You don't realize it at the time, but when it all plays out, Hawk is dropping some of the most important shit for us to know about this world right here in this episode.
Yeah, when I was young and watching this again, like I said, the mythology building was stuff that I was most interested in because I loved all the magic and the ghosts and the supernatural. But you're right. Now watching it and having more maturity and seeing it, you realize, first of all, what real world implications that actually has for, you know, our real lives, but also how much this plays into the whole arc of the Twin Peaks right up to the end of the return, right? Like there's the end of this season and then into the return. Like this is in the part of the show that most people discount, but it is one of, as you said, one of the most essential lines of the whole series.
Oh, it's critical. I mean, I remember, you know, when I watched it in high school, I just remember thinking like, damn, this seems really heavy. like he just literally told Cooper, like, you could literally die entering this place if you're not prepared. And of course, but I'm sitting there thinking, but it's Agent Cooper. If there's anybody who's got purity and bravery, like ready to go in spades, it's Agent Cooper.
Right.
But as we find out throughout this season, Cooper is human, and Cooper has darkness in his past, and he's not perfect. And I think that's the great thing that season 2 does for us, is it does start to show the chinks in Cooper's armor. He's not perfect. He is a great human being, not disputing that, but he does have a darker side.
But he is a human being.
He is a human being.
He's not perfect.
And that line really sets up so much for us. The other stuff that really we get into a big soap opera point here with everything happening with Josie, because we get into the whole Thomas Eckert, played brilliantly by David Warner. Always a pleasure to see him show up in anything. And of course, at the end of this episode, we get the big dun dun dun, because we get the return of the before thought dead Andrew Packard. Played amazingly, as always, by anything he does, by Dan O'Herlihy. If you don't know Dan O'Herlihy, he's Grigg in The Last Starfighter, and he's magical in that film. And, of course, he's the old man who works with Miguel Ferrer in RoboCop.
Yeah.
So,
right.
We get a little bit of OCP connection there with Alberts and with Andrew Packard. So this is good stuff, man. This is, like you said,
the cast they bring into this, as you pointed out earlier, is just so top notch, right? And Josie being back, and this whole plot line, we've got Josie in the last episode that we watched in this cycle. Josie's the maid outfit, amazing scene. I always feel like Pete's a little out of place in this scene, because I always think it's weird that he's not more upset by, you know, what Catherine's doing, but
and I think there's almost a part of Pete that's just kind of like, she's back. I'm glad she's back. Also, holy shit, she's back, which means she's seen and done some shit. So I'm just going to kind of, I'm going to let you be.
Maybe.
You do you, boo. You do you. No. I mean, Pete, of course, is still great to Josie, and you know he doesn't like it. He even tells Josie as much. But I think at this point, there's a little bit of course, the love he has for Catherine, but I think at this point there's a healthy fear there too.
Oh, absolutely.
Sure.
There has to be at this point.
But you're right. He thought she was dead, and now she's back. So there's a part of him that's going to just be a little more forgiving of some of her.
He's going to turn the naughty stuff. Yeah, absolutely.
Because he's so happy that she's alive and that she's back, and for sure. One of the things about these 3 episodes that I really noticed was that so much of the good stuff is setting up stuff that's still to come. Like in the
there's still a lot going on.
3,
man.
There's a lot of stuff that's coming up here in the next 3 that I think really pays off from the build up in some of these. Like I think it's only uphill from here. Like if again, I still there's parts of this that I love, and I still enjoy watching all of these episodes. But if this is the low point in the series, it is all uphill from here, right? Like we've got some good stuff coming even in the next few episodes.
Well, we get at the end of this episode, we get the actual official the letter with the chess move and the cassette tape from Wyndham Earl. The king must die. Like that's just creepy. I again, the stuff with Wyndham Earl is just gold. Every single thing setting him up is just chef's kiss, wonderful, perfect gold. I adore everything with Wyndham Earl. And again, this is just one of those things where it's like, you just know he's got to be there. How is he sending these letters like so easily and stuff like that? Like he's got.
I think you're right. I think he's there already, and I've always thought that. Yeah, I
It's
think
so
he's already
creepy
there.
when you think about that he's been there all this time and he's just been.
I almost wish there were
yes.
scenes of him in the background of some of these. Like that would have been really cool if there was some. But
Yeah.
I agree that I think he's there too.
I think he's absolutely in plain sight, which is why no one sees him, which is why it works throughout the rest of the season. But yeah, this is the stuff that really, for me, I mean, I will defend Wyndham Earl as the definitive villain of season 2, even over Bob and Leland. I think where season 2 goes from there, it's Wyndham's show, man. Like it really is. Even Leo and everybody else, like Wyndham Earl is what I get really psyched about when I get into season 2. I know he's coming, and I just love the build up to
Cooper's home.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. This is just.
And I think that Wyndham is a bit of a hint.
This
of
to me is where I'm with you. I think we're on an uphill tick.
Now that we know,
big time.
Wyndham is like maybe Wyndham's is on the journey that Cooper ends up going on, right? And maybe takes like a more tragic path than Cooper ends up being able to take. But yeah, I think we're getting some foreshadowing here, even though again they didn't know at the time. But I think it plays out really well. Is that like in many ways I imagine Wyndham started out more like Cooper. Right.
You really get the vibe of that in the way that he's described. I think that's absolutely the case, but I think it's the whole thing of if he tried to go after this stuff too soon, he's not going to have the bravery and the integrity that's needed. What the Black Lodge feeds on is that sort of that uncertainty and that desire. They feed on all the negative traits of human beings, and desire can be seen as a negative. In some places it's seen as, well, you've got real gumption and you've got real grit and you're really determined. In other places it's seen as, oh, you want more. You want more. You can't stop. You've got to have more. And that's where Wyndham's on that path. So yeah, I believe that when you look at Cooper and Wyndham Earl, they are basically reflections, man, or two sides of the same coin kind of thing. Like you easily see how Cooper could have become Wyndham Earl. And as we know with the return, that's almost like kind of what really happened. It's very interesting stuff, man. Wyndham Earl, I mean, gosh, it really is like Kenneth Walsh is phenomenal in the part. And I know we haven't seen him yet, but we're getting these little pieces, and it's so exciting. Like, I just can't wait till we can start talking all things Wyndham Earl, because he is, God, he's just fascinating. He's so creepy and wonderful.
Do you think the other thing with the difference between how they both handle the mysteries of the lodges and all the things in the Twin Peaks is that Wyndham Earl is a person who's more looking out for himself, whereas Cooper is someone who's always going to put the aid of others before himself?
Yes, I think that's a big part of it. Wyndham wants that knowledge and that power for himself. Cooper only wants to tap into that knowledge and power if it's going to help him solve a murder, if it's going to help him save a life, if it's going to help him do good. That's the only reason he gets involved with the Black Lodge. And so to me, I think that's what's really interesting is they are the same person, but their approach to it is completely different. One is very selfish, the other is very selfless, which again is why I thought no way on earth Cooper's going to have any issues in the Black Lodge, but everybody's human. Everybody's human. Everybody's got their ups and downs. And unfortunately, we'll see it through Cooper.
I think you guys have summed up all the scatteredness of these 3 episodes, even though there is a pretty much a through line with the whole Cooper story arc in these 3 episodes. But is there anything else you guys want to bring up that we haven't chatted about in any of these 3 episodes?
Well, the 3rd episode is where this 3rd part was where we see, of course, the return of Major Briggs at the very end. But there's some big stuff here. We do get Nadine officially joining the wrestling team. That does happen in episode 20, the Black Widow. We get more about Cooper figuring out where the bad guys are meeting at the Dead Dog Farm. We get that name dropped. And this last episode, really well directed by Caleb Deschanel. Again, the directors on this show bring their own thing to it, but they still keep it wholly Twin Peaks. And I think Caleb Deschanel is one of the better directors on the series. So you get a lot of good stuff. This is where we get where we learn more about Major Briggs and how everything with him is like a matter of like national security or possibly even more. Like that's one of those things where you're like, you didn't realize how important Major Garland Briggs is until those guys come in and basically say, you don't understand how bad this is. So it's like,
I do really like, even though as powerful and moving as that final scene is, he's just very matter of fact of like, okay, how long was I gone?
Right.
Yep.
Not good. I need a drink.
Yeah.
And then he just embraces his wife and his son.
Yep.
Yeah. It's a beautiful scene. I love the
it
way
is.
that episode
It's,
ends.
it's so good. Now, this is where, with the James storyline, though, this is where we find out about Evelyn getting beat by her husband.
And then she has a brother that's somehow the chauffeur.
Yeah. So there's some creepy like stuff with that storyline with James, where he's getting more in over his head and doesn't even realize that he's getting in over his head. There's a con that's happening, and I really enjoyed the fact that continues to evolve in a very creepy and very it's a very mysterious thing. Like who's telling the truth, and with every lie there is some truth in it, right? Like that has to be how that kind of works. And then of course you start finding out that the brother and sister might be a little more than what we thought. So James is in some shit. That's all I can say at this point in the game. James is in some serious shit, and he doesn't even know it yet.
No.
And that's what's so great about that storyline, is it really unveils itself very nicely to me. I really liked this storyline more this time watching it through than I have any other time before. It just, I don't know. It's just, I really like the film noir aspect of it. And I never really picked up on it as much before, but this time it just really clicked in. And boy, it's just, yeah, man, the stuff with James is interesting, man. It's better than him just riding around on his motorcycle being mopey. It's a far more interesting storyline, and it actually, like you said, I think Bradley, we are seeing James kind of evolve and realizing that he can be more than just James from Twin Peaks. He maybe has something else he can do, other people he can associate with who aren't from Twin Peaks. That to me is, I think, where we're starting to see a little bit of and I'm going to use this word in quotation fingers, but we're seeing some growth with James in the sense that he's not just tied to being a Twin Peaks high school student who rides around his motorcycle and hangs out at Big Ass. Like he's starting to kind of become his own man. He's not making the best choices, but he is making choices that an adult man would have to make. So there's a little bit of growth there.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, I think it's good. Like I said, I think we've got some exciting stuff coming up in the next few episodes, and I was really thinking again another three some here, because that'll take us to the end of this Evelyn storyline, and things really start gearing up into the Wyndham Earl after that. And so I think if we were to do 2021 and 22 for the next one, I think that would probably, and we also get some guest directors coming in here, like Uli Edel, the European director, and Diane Keaton. Like
Diane Keaton puts on a good episode too.
Yeah. So I think that would be great for the next discussion.
Yeah, I think that's a great three-way too. Again, this is where we get into the Confederacy of Ben.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's gonna be a lot to talk about right there.
Yeah.
Because boy, that is it's funny as hell, but boy, it's problematic. In the year 2024, it's insanely problematic.
Yeah.
But
it'll give us interesting stuff to talk about. That's for sure.
Yeah,
absolutely.
That sounds like a plan. I think those three are a good combo. That would be good stuff.
Awesome.
So how does the weekend after Valentine's sound for everybody? The 18th.
That would be good because I'm not out of town that weekend.
Unfortunately, I can't. That's the night I'm going to see the Oscar shorts. So
Oh, okay.
Okay.
And I'd have to like I don't know if our Monday's really terrible for you guys. It's a
Monday's fine.
holiday here. I don't know if it's a holiday down where you guys are, but the Monday
Well,
the 19th is a
Well,
holiday.
I don't know. I'm off for President's Day, but my wife is, so Monday's fine for me, the 19th.
Oh man, let me think.
If
I
not,
think that should be okay.
the following Sunday is fine if we wanted to give ourselves 3 weeks to build. To
Which
the
would
next
be
one,
what
to the
Sunday is
25th.
that?
The 25th.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would also work for me because I would be back home from work, which was on the 24th. I got to go to town. So yeah, the 25th would actually work. That would.
Well, and here's the nice thing about that. February 24th is the day that Cooper drives into Twin Peaks, right?
So we'll be talking the
February
second day of his
24th,
investigation.
yeah.
Yep.
I think
We'll be
it's
on the
stone,
anniversary, the
so
second day of his investigation.
That's right.
even though it's almost a month away, that works.
Okay, awesome. Let's do that. And yes,
25th.
that'll give us time to get through the 3 episodes, and hopefully everybody stays well.
Yes, man.
everybody-
I think also when it's all said and done, when we finished this season, before we get into Twin Peaks Fire Walk with Me, I think we'd be remiss if we didn't do a quick review of the Georgia coffee commercials from Japan, which actually tell a complete story in
I
4
remember.
30-second spots, man. Like, and I believe Lynch directed them.
Yeah, I think he did too. It's been a really long time since I've watched those, so I'll
They're
have to,
on YouTube. They're so great. I rewatched them. I showed them to my partner, and she was just like,
right.
"How did they nail Twin Peaks in like 30 seconds?" She's like, "I don't know how they did that." I was like, "It's brilliant," and I
David Lynch.
In my head, they're canon. They're absolutely canon to the Twin Peaks universe.
Yeah, because it's only like 3 minutes and 20 seconds.
Yeah, for all the spots, dude. It's so much fun. If you've never seen them, it is so worth your time. They're great. They're absolutely great.
Well, that sounds great. Thank you guys again. Thank you guys for understanding and being able to.
Oh goodness,
reschedule.
yes, man. It's if your health's your health, man. Like that's far more important than a podcast, bro. It's that simple. Like I'm always happy to see you guys, but take care of your health, man. That's critical. Shit.
Yeah. And I don't know how you guys watched them, but I think I watched like 2 episodes like 3 or 4 weeks ago, and then I watched the other episode last week. So
Well, I've literally burned through it all, man. So I have got the bug, you know, has hit.
You Doctor
Back
Strange
in,
did. Doctor Strange did. You watched the whole
I
thing.
did. I absolutely did. I'll tell you, man, like I'm excited to talk about Firewalk with Me and the return.
Yeah, me too.
Watching the return, and this had been the first time I'd watched the whole thing since it premiered in 2017. It was amazing how different it played for me, but honestly, how much better it played for me. And I'm interested to really talk about that with you guys because it was interesting how the first time through, of course, you have your expectations of what it's going to be, and it's not any of that at all. Holy shit!
No, not at all.
But when I rewatched it, it's kind of amazing of how much it is what I expected, and it is still wholly Twin Peaks.
Yes,
but it's a much darker, more modern look at that world. But at the same time, it's still Twin Peaks, and I think that was really interesting, just from my personal perspective of watching it. My partner seeing it for the first time, and me seeing it for the second. I think I liked it more the second time than I even did the first time, and I loved it the first time. But the second time, I think I enjoyed it even more, and I feel like my partner nailed it as to why. Like a lot of people, and you can cut this off whenever you need to cut it off for the recording, but a lot of people don't like the Dougie Jones stuff in The Return. I understand because you want Agent Cooper. You want that cherry pie eating, coffee drinking Agent Cooper. But at the same time, as we're watching it, I was interested to see what my partner would say. And she just looks at me and she goes, "I love Dougie." And I said, "Really?" She's like, "He is everything that's great and innocent and wonderful about Agent Cooper, like personified. And I was like, yeah, he is. And to be honest, watching it again, everybody's like, I really miss Agent Cooper. And I'm like, technically, when you look at Dougie and you look at his story, he is Agent Cooper. And I don't say that he's like everything with Dougie's arc is so perfectly Agent Cooper in that he's constantly doing good. He's constantly helping others. He's constantly got that luck that somehow carries him through to finish the mission. And everybody's lives that he comes in contact with, from the little old lady who calls him Mr. Jackpots, to the Mitchum brothers, to, of course, Jamie E. and Sonny Jim, everybody's lives are improved by him. Yeah. And it's so, like, I'll say this, David Lynch, I was talking to my partner about this. It's like, this man paints in dreams and nightmares. It's really how he just, it's where he exists. And it's amazing that the man who can bring you some of the most terrifying or some of the most funny or some of the most like sexy and intense scenes can give you some of the most wholesome shit you've ever seen in your life. And that for me is like Dougie Jones. The whole arc of Dougie Jones is some of the most wholesome, wonderful stuff that David Lynch has ever done. And I just was enamored with that entire line, the entire storyline through The Return. Like the first time I was just kind of like, where is this going? Why isn't Cooper back? Like, why hasn't he figured it out? Like, why? Oh, come on, man. Come on. Give me something. Give me something. This time I just rode with it and I was like, God, I love Dougie Jones. And I think, and my partner even agrees with me, I think the Mitchum brothers might be my favorite new characters from The Return. Christ almighty, those three girls, including Candy. Yeah. I could watch a whole subplot of just them, man. I swear to God, they're hilarious. They're so wonderful. It was so great to get to revisit The Return. I can't wait to talk with you guys about that. Sorry to go off on that tangent, but it's just like I've been like looking for other Twin Peaks nerds to talk to about The Return again, and it's like you guys are here, and I just got to at least say something. And I will say this, and I'll finish with this. I think the way that they handled the log lady, and more importantly, Catherine Coulson, it's probably one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen someone do. I've ever seen a friend do for a friend. Right. Lynch was insistent that she be in it, even though she was very much at death's doorstep. And I love that Catherine Coulson like committed to it and put it down. And I can honestly say, like, her final discussion with Hawk, like, man, Niagara Falls, Frankie Angel, like, I mean, every single time, that is such a genuinely beautiful moment. And the pathos with which, when Hawk tells everybody that she's passed, the response from Lucy and Andy and Bobby and Sheriff Truman, like that to me felt like that was the day that they all came to terms with the fact that their friend Catherine Coulson had passed away. And that is such a heavy, powerful, beautiful, poignant moment. And, you know, I know a lot of people don't like David Lynch. He's not their cup of tea, but you would be hard pressed to find anybody who would watch that particular moment and not be like, not feel something. That is absolutely one of the most beautiful send-offs to a character, to a human being. Let's just go ahead and say that I've ever witnessed. That's to me, I mean, really, just I'm choking up just thinking about it now. That is one of the most beautiful moments that's ever existed on television, in Twin Peaks or otherwise. That storyline and the justice, the beauty, the love, the reverence that they give her and her character. That's some of the best stuff that I've ever seen. Like, honestly, it's beautiful.
Absolutely. And two things. One, I think the whole thing with Dougie and just all the things Kyle MacLachlan, it's just showing like how talented he is as an actor.
Oh, when he didn't win the Emmy, I was furious. I was absolutely furious. Like, he plays four different different roles in that show.
I know.
He doesn't win the Emmy. Come on, man.
And then I recently recommended it to a coworker who had brought up Twin Peaks in a game of Hangman. And I was like, well, if you like Twin Peaks, have you seen The Return yet? And he was like, no. He's like, is it good? I mean, like, I was like, it's definitely Lynchian, so a little different from the regular show, but you should check it out.
And I will say this: if you guys being Lynch fans, now you'll have to check your territories, but I know that on February 19th, and I think it's also the 18th. But if you have a theater around you that does the Fathom events, on February 18th and 19th, they're showing the 40th anniversary screening of David Lynch's Dune.
Oh, yeah, I think I did hear about that. That'd be great.
So I will tell you right now, Monday the 19th, my ass will be at Regal Cinemas. I never got to see it on the big screen. And if you're a fan of that film, I got for myself as like an early Christmas gift. There's a really wonderful book about the making of Dune by Max Every. He's the guy who discovered that apparently Lynch wrote a lot of a screenplay for Dune 2, and he found that screenplay. Wow. And it's like, wow, dude, like it would have been crazy cool. Like it would have been an amazing thing. But the book actually is an oral history involving like Tom McLaughlin, Virginia Madsen, Everett McGill. Like you find out who else was up for the role of Paul Atreides. You get all kinds of great background information about David Lynch, about the making of the film. It's one of those things where you're like, I don't know how this movie got finished, let alone just got released in the version that got released, but how it even got finished, man. Holy shit. They literally had everything against them. So if you love that film like I do, that book is worth your time. I'll send you the full specs on it if you want, but it's a great book, very entertaining, highly worth your time, man. Very good stuff. Even has interviews with Toto talking about the soundtrack. Like even they're in it. Like it's totally worth your time, man. If you love Dune like I do, it's a fantastic read. You'll blow through it. It's super, super interesting.
All right. Well, I didn't know this was happening, but I'm gonna try and see if I can go check this out on the big screen. And
that'd be awesome.
Yeah,
I've never seen it on the big screen either.
Yeah, for me, I can't. I love Dune. I really do. I know it's not everybody's favorite film at all, but I adore it. I do. It got me into the books, and yeah, I mean, for me, like shit, dude, I can't wait to see it on the big screen. I'm totally stoked.
Well, thank you guys again. I appreciate your enthusiasm, your expertise, and talking all about Twin Peaks. I hope you guys have a great week.
Yeah, man, you too.
Thank you.
We'll talk soon.
Yeah.
Take care, guys.
Bye, guys.
In a month.
Yeah. See you then. Bye-bye.
Good night.